Hello everybody, September is upon us, and in terms of video games, this month is a doozy. Here are September 2026's biggest game releases. Real quick before we get into it, the usual caveat that we do our very best to make these videos accurate and comprehensive and up to date, but game release dates get announced suddenly and also delayed last minute, so please always check your local listings. Also, making a video about a month this busy would be a lift for us under normal circumstances, but we've got to get this video out the door in time to jump on a plane to Germany to produce a week-long live show at Gamescom during the week when Rockstar is also revealing Grand Theft Auto 6 gameplay and everybody else is scrambling to cover that, and if that wasn't enough, my kid brought home some fun new germs from her first week of kindergarten, so I'm reading this whole thing with a nasty sore throat through a haze of cough medicine. So if we f anything up or leave anything out, have a heart, we're human beings. On September 1st, if you can't get enough fantasy deck builders, you can throw another one on the pile when Grail comes to PC, but the hook here is that your cards do the battling for you and the runs are on the shorter side, clocking in around 15 to 45 minutes. If you also can't get enough cozy management sims, BioEden is another one of those, dropping a couple days later on PC as well as current-gen consoles. Really though, the biggest game dropping on the 3rd is arguably the Blood of Dawnwalker, and if you're champing at the bit for The Witcher 4 or that Blade game that may come out someday, this might be worth sinking your teeth into in the meantime. It's an open-world dark fantasy action RPG set in a monster-infested 14th century Europe where you play as Cohen, who can engage with the affairs of humans by daylight while also moonlighting as a vampire when the sun goes down. That one's on Xbox Series, PS5, and PC. Meanwhile, exclusively on Switch, there's Orbitals, the absolutely gorgeous two-player co-op adventure which will play a bit like Split Fiction or It Takes Two, but looks like classic bubble-era OVA anime like Urusei Yatsura or Project Echo. If you're more into Belgian comics from the 1950s than anime from the 1980s, also that day is Marsupilami 2 Salsa Polombia, a colorful 2.5D platformer coming to Switch 1, Xbox Series, PS5, and PC. On September 4th, another big one is Onimusha Way of the Sword, the latest installment in Capcom's long-dormant Slice and Dice 'em Up series. You play as legendary real-world swordsman Miyamoto Musashi, who's modeled after legendary real-world movie swordsman Toshiro Mifune, and you'll duke it out with all sorts of not-so-real-world, ill-natured yokai and demonic bosses. At a glance, this might look a bit like a Souls-like, but it's not. It's the kind of action game that the original Onimusha series helped pioneer back on PS2. I initially balked at the idea of a Halloween game dropping on September 8th, but considering that Target and Home Depot and IKEA all start rolling out their spooky season at the crack of dawn on August 1st, I'll let it slide. Regardless, you can shape up and ship out as Michael Myers.
Yeah, baby!
The other Michael Myers, and terrorize the teens of Haddonfield, Illinois. This is from Ilphonic, who brought us multiplayer games based on Friday the 13th, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Predator, and Ghostbusters, and Halloween will have both single and multiplayer components this time around. That's on Xbox Series, PS5, and PC, unless you live in Australia, where it's apparently banned because you can smoke a virtual doobie.
This kind of behavior is never tolerated in Boracua.
The simulated murder, no problem, but glorifying a plant that turns regular Chex Mix into Chex Bold Party Mix,
Right to jail, right away.
and makes Adult Swim cartoons feel like a 4DX experience,
You right to jail.
I'm calling the cops.
No trial, no nothing.
If you want a horror game about never leaving the house, BrokenLore Don't Lie is the latest entry in the short-form first-person psychological horror series. This one's centered around a hikikomori and features returning characters from BrokenLore Don't Watch, and from the looks of things, their mental health hasn't improved much since their last appearances. That one's on Xbox Series, PS5, and PC. On the 11th, you can whack the puck out of some HE double hockey sticks in NHL 27 on Xbox Series and PS5. I don't know about hockey, but if they announce Letterkenny DLC for this game, I would be there faster than you can say, before beach bodies, bros better bundle up in boots, blankets, and balaclavas because a bloody bitter breeze will blow brisk, blustery, and bleak. Speaking of Canadians, on the 15th, it's claw-burring time, and Insomniac's long-awaited take on the old knucklehead finally arrives on PS5. Wolverine is the best at what he does, and what he does ain't pretty, and Insomniac is among the best at what they do, which generally is really pretty. And while the visuals in the latest game are not in question whatsoever, I am very curious if this has the same oomph as their spin on Spidey. Regardless, I am happy to hear that in between eviscerating cyborgs and ninjas, I'll also be able to play Never Have I Ever with Mystique and pound some shots with Sabretooth. That same day, RuneScape Dragonwilds, the open-world survival spin-off of the beloved MMO, launches on current-gen consoles and gets a full release on Steam after a lengthy and well-received early access period. A day later, if you're somehow already hankering for another roguelike deck builder and have a friend who's also in the same boat, get a load of Duo Quest. It puts a co-op spin on card-based battling, but injects some social elements as well. On the 17th, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave hits Switch 2, the next big installment in the turn-based tactics RPG series that introduces a multi-protagonist structure spread over parallel timelines. In case that's not enough JRPG time travel for one day, there's also Another Eden Begins, which has its roots in the free-to-play mobile game Another Eden, the cat beyond time and space, but is apparently a whole reworking, and based on the fact that you have to pay for it up front, I'm guessing that means they got rid of some of the free-to-play gacha elements. That one's on both Switches and PC. If you're in the mood for a JRPG that doesn't involve time travel, as far as I can tell, there's Trails in the Sky's second chapter, which is on both Switches, PS5, and PC. And if you want something that isn't a JRPG, but does involve time manipulation, there's also Trine 6 Together in Time, the latest in the co-op action RPG puzzle platformer that adds a new time-slowing mechanic, and that one's on both Switches, Xbox Series, PS5, and PC. On the 18th, Nascar 26 hits PS5, Xbox Series, and PC, and based on the chatter on the subreddit, it seems to be a fairly iterative step up from last year's installment, which had some room for improvement. Fun fact, one of the first games I ever previewed was NASCAR The Game 2011, which involved playing the game at an actual NASCAR race, but also the PR guy pushing me around in a shopping cart that looked like a race car. There's more to this story, but it actually makes less sense in context.
Said go to do with this.
I got a message for all of them. Ready? Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind?
By mid-September, Target and Home Depot and IKEA probably have their Christmas out already, so why not drop a new Grinch game? Yeah, that's right, The Grinch 2, Saving Christmas. As you'll recall, the original story concludes with the Grinch's heart engorging by about 300% over a 24-hour period. This would likely kill most organisms with a cardiovascular system, but in the Grinch's case, it triggers a sudden personality shift, or perhaps manic episode, which completely changes the Viridian cryptid's outlook on holiday festivities. Anyway, in this 3D platformer, you make the formerly foul-tempered Yuletide goblin jump around collecting lost Christmas tree ornaments that he probably dumped out everywhere in the first place. It's good that he's making amends, but personally, if I was going to do a Grinch 2, I'd have the Grinch channeling his anti-materialistic agenda into helping the Lorax liberate the Truffula Forest from the Onceler family's Sneed manufacturing empire. It'd be like Far Cry 4, but with Barbaloots and Swami Swams instead of honey badgers and vicious eagles. Oh, I'm sorry, did you think that was an irrelevant non sequitur tangent? Because it's actually a segue to the next game, which is also based on a piece of classic literature and also is centered on waging guerrilla warfare on the supply lines of a precious natural resource, and that game is Dune Awakening.
I'm pointing the way. Sound okay?
This one finally hits Xbox Series and PS5 with the addition of an all-new dedicated single-player campaign, which will hit PC that day as well as part of an update. This launched as an MMO-type experience, but from the sound of things, it's been veering in a more solo-friendly direction since launch, and console newcomers will definitely benefit from a year's worth of player feedback from the PC crowd, so if you're trying to pass a few hundred hours until Dune 3, this is one way to keep busy. On September 24th, there are too many games coming out. Control Resonant is a big one. This is the direct sequel to IGN's 2019 Game of the Year and the latest addition to Remedy's weirdo interconnected universe, so it may as well be a sequel of sorts to Alan Wake 2 and maybe even their extraction shooter FBC Firebreak, but whatever it is, much like Onimusha, it is not a Souls-like, even if it sort of looks like one. That one's on Xbox Series, PS5, and PC. Silent Hill Townfall is another big one, and it seems to be continuing the upward trajectory of Konami's beloved psychological horror franchise. Between the remake of Silent Hill 2 and the all-new Silent Hill F, it seems like the publisher is following Capcom's lead with Resident Evil, and much like Capcom did with Resident Evil 7, this is taking the traditionally third-person Silent Hill experience and putting it in a first-person perspective, which is the first game in the series to do so, not counting PT, so hopefully it pays off. That one's on PS5 and PC. Hey, what's the opposite of a Silent Hill? Well, a noisy valley, but a loud field is close enough, and you can kick a ball back and forth across some nice flat grass while a whole lot of people yell at you in EA Sports FC 27. That's out on the 24th as well, with early access for the Ultimate Edition starting September 18th. If you'd rather toil in the fields of an agrarian variety, you can do so in Farming Camp, a cozy little game whose protagonist Alessandra is described as an ambitious teenager competing to be the best farmer. But in my experience, the kinds of teens who wind up at farm camp usually are the ones who are ambitious about convincing strangers to buy them vanilla Smirnoff and more likely to compete to see who's the best at shoplifting from Claire's. Maybe this isn't that kind of farming camp. Find out for yourself on PS5, Xbox Series, Switch 1, and PC. Some might tell you that shoplifting is an infinite rush, but that's not just morally wrong, it's factually inaccurate. A true infinite rush is launching a rocket-powered car shaped like a duck off a ramp shaped like a giant metal skull, which is something you can do in Hot Wheels Infinite Rush. There are a lot of crappy Hot Wheels games out there, but this is from the team that did these shockingly fun Hot Wheels Unleashed games, and this looks like those except in a bonkers open world full of stupid toy stunt tracks, so I'm definitely checking it out. That one is on current gen and PC. You know what's the opposite of an infinite rush? That bloated lethargic feeling you get after eating a big meal, which is apparently the state that Garfield constantly exists in whenever he's conscious. When he's unconscious, he has night terrors about TV chefs and vegetables, or at least that's what happens if he eats a vegetarian lasagna, which is literally the plot of Garfield Escape From Monday. And much like Onimusha Way of the Sword and Control Resonant, this is also not a Souls-like. I mean, you probably didn't think it was, but just so everyone's clear, there is no Garfield Souls-like yet. That one's on the newer big boxes and the old Switch, and whatever size or version PC can run it. On the 25th, there's Decklings, which is, you guessed it, another deck builder in case you need another one of those. And hey, look, I'm just kidding around. I don't mean to crap on deck builders. Card-based games are a lower lift for smaller development teams because they don't involve a ton of animation, physics, level design, combat, and stuff like that. So it's a great way for a studio to find its footing, learn how to work together, and possibly earn some cash to put towards their next project. And really, I don't have a leg to stand on because I too once helped develop a deck builder. That's right, I admit it. And I even produced the most annoying trailer possible for it.
Do you like trading card games?
Yeah!
Get ready for stack and deploy. Choose your commanders, pick your ships, arm your weapons, and deploy your forces.
Awesome! Stack and deploy. Now available in the App Store for free.
September 29th, you can take your pick of battling angular polygonal fantasy foes in Minecraft Dungeons 2, where the foes are deliberately boxy because it's Minecraft, or in Gothic 2 Complete Classic, where they look that way because it's a port of a game from 2003 and that's how games looked back then. Anyway, Minecraft Dungeons 2 is current gen, Switch 1, and PC, and Gothic 2 was already on PC and Switch, but now it's on both the PlayStations and both the Xboxes as well. And finally, on September 30th, Nowhere sends you somewhere to solve some mysteries infusing detective gameplay with survival horror rooted in Norse mythology, and that one is just on PC for now. Well folks, that just about does it. Like I said, this month was a bit of a nightmare on our end, so apologies if any games slipped through the cracks. I'm sure some stuff got announced at Gamescom. We'll try to play catch up next month. If there's anything particularly noteworthy that did not make the list, please shout it out in the comments below. And as always, a big huge thanks to Amanda Medina, Chris Del Padre, and Logan Plant for helping this video come together. And an even bigger thank you to everyone who took the time to watch it. Thank you. I appreciate you. We'll be back next month with the creepiest, kookiest, and or altogether spookiest games of October. We'll see you then, if we dare. Will we be there? Who knows? We're cowards. You'll never know.